Hola gente, ¿qué tal? Estamos aquí con un invitado muy especial. Tenemos a Youngbuck, el top laner de Copenhagen Wolves, que estará participando en el LCS de la Liga de Europa esta temporada. Hi Youngbuck, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking this interview. So let's start with the LCS from Europe. Do you think the Copenhagen Wolves will make the playoffs this time?
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate us right now. Not just the public, but also other teams. But I think we're aiming for top 5 this split and top 3 for next split. So even though people think we don't have it in us, I think we do.
I think it too, since Freezy is the new guy there. Talk me about Freezy. Do you think that's an upgrade over your previous AD carry?
I think they're on a pretty similar level, but I think Freeze has a much better attitude towards the game, and he's also very involved in helping other people improve and talking with the team and talking about strategies and things like that. So on that side, he's definitely an improvement.
Okay, that's great. So now, what's the new things you guys have been working to improve in order to make the playoff? New strategies, new picks, new bans. I don't know what's new in this team for the next season.
Well, our most important thing right now is getting back to the level that we were at when we made relegation against HTK, because we were very strong at that moment, and we showed that by beating them 3-0. So that's what we're doing right now, and we're also trying to train a lot of different styles, and sometimes to train some new picks that we can surprise people with.
I know you cannot tell me your new picks, but are those non-meta? Like new picks in the LCS? Like the Unicorns of Love that they picked Poppy?
Yeah, there is something new here and there. I can't promise that we'll actually play it, but we might.
That's right. So Fnatic just got a new lineup. Just Yellow Star, it's the only one there.
Yeah.
What do you think about this new Fnatic team? Because some of the fans don't think they will be good enough, and they might be get in last place. I don't know. Your thoughts on the new Fnatic lineup?
Well, if you play for Fnatic, I think you're expected to be a top 3 team, because Fnatic is just that big of a brand. And looking at this lineup, I don't think they'll make it. I think they should be happy if they can avoid relegation, so top 6. But it's I don't even know their jungler and their top laner, so it's really hard for me to criticize them. I just need to see them in action first.
Do you think the Yellow Star is the right guy to be the captain?
Absolutely. I mean, if someone had to be the captain of that team, it would have to be Yellowstar, and I also think he's one of the people that's really capable of making a lineup for Fnatic.
That's true. Yeah. So Yellow Star have been in 4 straight World Championships. Do you think this time he will not be there?
If I have to say right now, then no, I don't think he would make it. Not with this lineup.
So maybe if he leaves Fnatic, he will make it.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe?
Depends on who he would play with.
So do you think the new teams from the expansion tournament, along with the Unicorns of Love, will have a good impact in this season, or they just be last 3 teams in the standings?
Well, I expect the new teams to do a little bit worse than most people expect, and that's mostly because being new to the LCS is an experience in itself. Suddenly living in a gaming house and having that weekly stress and the need to perform every week is a lot different than when you play tournaments and challenger scene. It's kind of a similar thing that happened to Copenhagen Wolves when we were actually dominating the challenger scene and suddenly had to make the transition to the LCS and didn't really succeed at it. So I could see a lot of those teams, H2K, Unicorns of Love and Giants, all 3 of those having a little bit more problems than people think they will have.
Do you think the Unicorns of Love can win against the Elements team or against Rocat or SK Gaming since they too own TSM?
I think they can. I think everyone can take maps of anyone, and especially Unicorns of Love is probably really good at best of ones because they have these really strange picks like the Poppy and and really strong laners, and that's sometimes you just need pure individual strength to win, even though we've more shifted towards a teamwork kind of playing style that you need at the professional level right now.
Do you think Bishishashi will be a problem in the top lane with his random picks?
He's a very strong top laner, yeah. I do think that there isn't a big difference between most top laners in LCS, so I don't think he will be groundbreaking or suddenly dominating everyone, but he's definitely a good player.
And what do you think about Twisted Fate Jungle? Is it good pick or is it just a troll pick?
It was played a lot in scrims in the European between European teams, and eventually it did fade away. So you could say it was a cheese, but at that time a lot of teams were actually trying to pick it up, and Unicorns of Love were just the only ones to show it on stage.
And the players are not the only ones who play well. In the coaching, do you think coaches in the LCS play a big role? Or
I do think they play a really big role. Most of it comes from having a critical eye and someone that isn't biased, looking at your games and saying who does what wrong can be really important. But also, if that guy is the one criticizing you, then you're with your teammates stay a lot healthier because you're not criticizing each other anymore, but you have that guy doing it for you.
So, who do you think is the best coach in Europe?
Oh wow. There's only two extremely good ones that I know. One is the one that we currently have, who's named Dentist. And then there is Ducky, who was our former coach, now working with Rocket. I don't really know what coaches the other teams have. So, but those are two that come to mind that do have a good impact on their team.
And what's the main job for the coaches? What do they do with you guys? Because we don't see them, but I know they are there in the gaming house with you guys and they work.
Yeah, they watch all our scrims, and then after the scrims we go through what went wrong and how we need to approach certain things strategically. Our coach is also an authority figure, so he's kind of the boss of the team, you could say. He's someone that we listen to, but also someone we can really talk to about our problems and try to come up with solutions. And on top of that, the coach also watches a lot of OGN to see if there's anything new coming up that we don't see coming ourselves.
Okay, so the coach, they tell you guys the picks and bans in your games, or you guys decide?
Well, when we will play LCS, we will probably do it as a team. We will talk about all the several options that we have for first picks, second picks, and so forth. The coach will definitely play a big role in it because he'll have watched everything and understand our strengths and weaknesses probably better than we do ourselves, because he is that unbiased person watching from the side. So it's not just the coach, but he does have a big part in it.
Okay, so living in a gaming house with the team, that's good for the team or that's bad? Because we know that there might be personal problems between players. I'm not talking about your team, I'm talking about every team. It's good or it's bad to live with your teammates?
For stress-related reasons, I would say it's bad, but the really positive thing is that you don't have to travel to the studio every week. You're there with your team, and being at home and having to fly to Berlin every week wouldn't be possible. I mean, Gambit tried it, but it's physically very exhausting. And the gaming house does have the thing where you have to talk to each other, you have to bond with each other, and last split we did become really good friends, and that helped us in game as well. So for some teams it can have a really good impact. For others, if the bonding doesn't happen or if there's a lot of internal issues, then it can be a very bad thing.
Okay. So tell me, who is your biggest rival in the top lane?
Wow. It's a good one. You know what, I'm just gonna say Visichachi because I play a lot against him in scrims and also some 1v1 training. So we know each other very well and it's always fun when we get to play each other.
I will be looking forward to that.
Thank you.
I hope it goes well. And well, now that in the previous World Championship, Europe didn't make it out of the group stage. Why that happened? Because that was the first time ever that none team from Europe make it out of the group stage.
Well, with Svenskeren being banned, that ruined their chances. I wouldn't say that they would have made it with Svenskeren in the first 3 games, but they would have had a much bigger chance. And then there was Alliance. Alliance being Alliance, sometimes their egos get a bit ahead of themselves, and they already think they've won before they've even started the game. And you know, yeah, they lost to Kaboom. That should have never happened, right? So yeah,
yeah, like just like
exactly, yeah.
What the hell?
I mean, that's
just happened?
If you're the number 1 team in Europe, then that's just, you can't let it happen. And then Fnatic was a weird story because they actually beat the Koreans and then lost to OMG twice and didn't do that great against LMQ. I think they went 1-1. So I think Fnatic was probably the strongest team there, but they finished last in their groups, which is kind of strange. But they did have the hardest World Championships. If that's the game with the Nexus being very low, then yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
What were you thinking where they left the Nexus?
I was like, why? Europe has to win. Europe has to win, but then I was so close. Yes, I was.
So you were
Fnatic isn't just a really team, they're also very likable people. I mean, now they're a different team, but I'm good friends with Reckless, and he was on our team, of course, but everyone in Fnatic is a very fantastic player off the map as well.
Decision by...
It's hard for me to tell whether it was the right decision, but I think a lot of professionals have the problem that after a while you just lose the passion and the drive to compete, and then you have to make the decision if you just want to keep playing purely for the money or if you want to pursue happiness and take a break. And I think Cyanide chose to pursue his happiness, just take a break, and maybe he'll come back later.
Your expectations?
Well, since we started in the challenger scene, we just wanted to get into the LCS for starters. And when we made that, we felt like we were a top 4 team in Europe based on the scrim results we had against teams that were already in the LCS, like Fnatic and Gambit at the time, who were top 3. We got 6th place, which was very disappointing for us. But then we also had 2 roster changes with Forgiven and Amazing going out, so we were a little bit easier on ourselves and said, you know what, 6th, 5th, that would be good. But we ended up last, so not again disappointing. But it doesn't stop us from setting the bar high this split again.
So, do you think Amazing was the right guy?
If I were TSM and I were looking for a new jungler, then yeah, Amazing was probably the right guy. He was considered as the best or second best jungler in Europe. And I don't think there was a lot of talent inside NA that was ready for it. So if you're a TSM, you look for a guy who already has LCS experience and is performing extremely well, then Amazing was the perfect fit for them. Absolutely. Jungle and mid lane are usually considered the most important roles of a team. So if you win the championship, then you've definitely played a role. I just think that whereas in Copenhagen Wolves he was more of a star player and we put a lot of our focus and energy into him to become that star player. In TSM you have Bjergsen, you have Dyrus, you have Wild Turtle, and then Lost Boy later. These are also star players, and then sometimes Or in this case, Amazing just had to be more of a supportive role and not be much of the star player making big plays, but just setting up the big plays for other people. I think NA has the strongest team in the West in the form of Cloud9, but I think Europe has a lot more, as like the second, third, fourth and fifth place teams of the West. So overall, like if you go by average, then I think Europe is stronger, but NA still has Cloud9 being the best team in the West. You know, they've made roster changes again, and they lost the Unicorns of Love last time I saw them. So they're going to have to prove themselves again. Well, for Europeans it can be very lucrative to go to NA because there's a lot more money. When you start streaming you have a lot more viewers if you're an NA player than a European player. And the exposure in NA is bigger, so you get to make a name for yourself. On the other hand, there's also visa issues that can be really tough to overcome when you want to enter Europe for a longer time. I mean, it's pretty easy to get in here for 90 days, but staying for a year can be a lot harder. So, but I think mostly the first factors, the more money, the bigger exposure, and everything in America is bigger. That's the biggest thing about. Balls, Balls is just really good, very good champion pool. Often also forces bans and very strong teleport uses, but what surprised me the most is how good he is at controlling minion waves, and that's a very often overlooked thing, but also very important. I like TSM, They're my number 2 pick for NA. Not anymore. I had to quit when we started training again, but I played some Hearthstone, I played some StarCraft, I played some Counter-Strike Go. But I had to quit because we started training again, and then it really takes up all your time. You have your team practice, your solo queue, your 1v1 training, and we started looking for a coach, so eventually I just decided to drop every game. No, I think people often overlook a lot of negative things. I'm very happy that I'm able to make a living out of this. I'm very happy that I can compete at a top level. But it takes a lot of hard work, almost no breaks. You have to put friends on a hold, you don't get to see your family for a while. Relationships are pretty much impossible. So, you know, there's a lot of positive, but there's also a lot of negatives. But all in all, I wouldn't trade it for another job. So you could say I'm living the dream. You know, it's just getting some recognition for working hard and performing and giving people a show, and people actually appreciating you and wanting your autograph. It's a great feeling. No, I've always been pretty good at video games, and at some point I felt like I wanted to be a pro, but when I started playing League of Legends I never put any thought into it. I had pretty much given up on wanting to be a professional gamer, even though I had already seen a few documentaries with like, wow, I wish I could do that. And then suddenly it happened out of nowhere, and well, here I am being a pro player. It was definitely Hotshot GG. I still remember myself watching him stream a lot with my friends together. And I remember his Nidalee and his Swain, and well, Nidalee became my first main champion because of him. So he was my favorite for sure. At that moment I didn't even know much about CLG. So I was mostly fan of Hotshot GG, and when there were tournaments and I realized he was playing for CLG, I was a fan for CLG as long as I didn't play a European team. Yeah, maybe next time. Maybe at Worlds.
Oh, don't be afraid.
Copenhagen Wolves at Worlds. Come on.
Maybe. Oh, come on, CLG at Worlds. Come on. Come on. So, since we're talking about CLG, Do it again. Do you
Um,
think CLG
you know what?
is
They will always have the expectation to be top three, and one of the biggest things about CLG is that a lot of people criticize them for right now is that they didn't banish Link. But when it comes to roster swaps, a lot of people don't know what's going on behind the scenes, because if Link isn't performing that well on stage, and CLG still decides to keep him even though they can get pretty much anyone they want with a name that's strong, it probably means that Link has a pretty big influence on the team overall that people don't get to see. So that's something I just wanted to say. Other than that, that also means that I think that CLG does have the chance to be top 3 with Link and with the lineup that they have right now. I've seen him play, I think I've seen him play the last OGN split actually, and I've seen him play 1 or 2 games in this OGN split so far. Yeah, he would definitely deserve to be there for another team. I think that SKT is using him more as a mental tool. Like if you're playing against a certain team and they pick Easyhoon, like to say that you guys are easy to beat, so we can play this with Easyhoon. And then when they put in Faker, the enemy is like, fuck, we're gonna play against Faker now. So it could be a mental weapon.
Why the Koreans are everywhere in the world? Why them? Why the teams from NA and Europe and from China and from all the regions in the
honestly,
world pick?
I don't know. I don't even agree with most of it. I think Lost Boy was a great example of how it's supposed to be done, but League of Legends has come so far that right now I don't think individual skill really beats out teamwork. And Koreans obviously aren't fluent in English, so you look at Millennium where they put a Korean in the mid lane and a Korean in the jungle, which are 2 of the roles that require the most communication, and it doesn't matter how good they are, it's just at this level you need to be able to communicate, and then Millennium is a perfect example of how it goes wrong, because too many Koreans in a team or at vital positions can be very detrimental. I can definitely see for example, Gamsu for Dignitas work, because top lane usually doesn't require as much talking. Same goes for AD carry, and well, they got Core JJ or something like that. So that's a good example. I think those are kind of Koreans that can work, because usually the 3 people that communicate the most are mid lane, jungle, and support. And so if you need a mid lane or jungle support, I would just get an American or European, get someone that talks English. It's probably going to work a lot better than getting Korean who's slightly better mechanically, if even that, but doesn't know how to speak English. I don't know what happened in Millennium. You know, usually teams know a lot about other teams, and I knew Millennium was having a lot of problems behind the scenes, but I didn't know what was going on. But I wasn't too surprised when 2 people ever got kicked, or I don't even know what happened. So I do think that they had to replace Kerb and Cotonix, whether they like to or not. You could say that maybe going to Korea and getting both of them might have been a little bit overboard because of the lack of communication that you create. But I think they also banked on just making it into the LCS with just pure individual skill at that point. Yeah, it does have an advantage. You know, if it's not for being exposed to more people, then the money and the fame is something that some girls are really attracted to, but those are also the girls that you probably don't want to date because they're usually shallow.
So if you go
you know, we're a team that's just really quiet. We're, you know,
right?
we just like being alone or being at the computer. It's like, it's our home, it's our nature to be in front of a computer, and we're not really party animals.
How do I say?
Well, from the very start of the
For how
LCS,
long
then it took
did
me
you pursue the
a
dream of
year.
being in the LCS?
It actually took me 2 years from the start of the LCS to get into LCS, and before the LCS started, I was also already a pro for about a year or year and a half. So in total, it was 3.5 years before I finally reached the holy grail that is the LCS. Yeah, good call, man. I'm glad I don't know. I'm glad I didn't have to find
Before
out.
you were a pro player in the
Yeah.
LCS.
You know,
What were you
I
doing
quit
with your
school and I was doing sports and having a lot of fun, but I wasn't doing a lot of productive things, I would say. I worked a very little bit here and there, but I really wouldn't know. Right now, even if you ask me right now, I would say something esports related. I've always liked coaching people and managing, so if I hadn't made it as a pro player, maybe I would have given it a shot at becoming a coach.
And do you have any plans when you stop being a pro player? Like 15
Well, I
years,
kind of just gave it away, but I've
you could
always
be
wanted
a
to
dinosaur
be a coach,
here
so
in the pro
if the
scene.
time comes where I'm either
Do you
kicked
have
out of the
any plan
LCS,
for the future?
or if I'm just not good enough, or if I feel like I'm holding back my team, or I just lose the drive, then I'll probably try to pursue becoming someone's coach. No,
Why? It's the
people
right
say that
age
reflexes are really
to
important
stop
and that
being a
being young is very important, but
There is no age
I
to
don't
stop
think it's
being a
that
pro player.
important. Or maybe I'm just saying that because I'm a prideful old guy now, but a lot of this game is about thinking and being one step ahead of your opponent and knowing what's going on in your opponent's head and how to play with that. So reflexes are just a secondary thing, and therefore I think you can play up until you're 30 or 35 even. I think it's possible. I do think that maybe it's important to start playing at a younger age, because then being able to learn those things might be a lot easier. It could happen.
Would you-
I think it's more of
will
a
you be
question on
maybe
if I will lose
30
passion
a 30-year-old
to
guy
train and
playing
keep playing,
LCS maybe?
because I think that everyone that's in the LCS right now deserves to be there. I also think there's about 100 people that aren't in the LCS that could make it. All I need to do is stay on this level and be a little bit lucky every now and then. But most importantly, if the passion is there, if the will to train is there, then you can stay on the top for a very long time. Yeah, with me on top lane.
So
Yeah, I like the
the
10
best
teams.
team,
I think
that
Europe was
you
ready
have
for it.
10 teams
There
and
were a lot of good challenger teams
a
that deserved their
league system
chance.
in the challenger scene.
Especially considering that usually all it takes for a challenger scene to be LCS level is to just play at the LCS for a couple of weeks, because then you understand the difference between the levels and what's required. I also, getting to play each other twice, the more games against an opponent, the better, because maybe we're 10 times better than Elements, but we can still lose twice to them, and we only get to play them twice now. But if you get to play them 4 times, then even if you get unlucky twice, you can still win 2 other times just because you're better. And I obviously picked a certain scenario that's completely unrealistic, because we're not 10 times better than Elements. It's at least 11 times. Yeah, it kind of reduces
2 in a row. So do you think
variance
was
is the word I'm looking
better
for.
than just 2 per
A
season?
bad team, a bottom team can always be the top team on any given day, but the more games you play, the less chance you have of them beating them consistently. So only getting to play someone twice, I love the league system, absolutely, I love it, the new system, but that's a little bit detrimental, especially for the good teams, because hey, I'm going to play against some teams that are a lot better than Copenhagen Wolves, and I might just get away with cheesing them twice, or getting lucky twice, or doing something very extraordinary.
I want to talk about Ninjas in Pajamas because I was a huge fan. I was crazy for Ninjas in Pajamas. So I might put this in the interview. I might not, but I do wanna
Well,
talk.
it's
about
more what
them.
went wrong. I
Why
mean, they had the
NIP
perfect.
don't
They
have
lost 3-0
League
to
of
Rocket in
Legends
relegations
teams?
when they just got 3 players from
wrong
the
with
number 1 team in Europe. Then they tried again and they failed. I don't know if they actually went into relegations again. You know, he had a bit of a slump, but that's something everyone goes through, and he had some really rough circumstances. I think he deserves to be in the LCS. The one thing that I also mentioned before, like, there's probably 100 people that are LCS level that aren't in the LCS, and so that's where sometimes luck comes into play. And you know, once you leave the LCS, a lot of people think they'll just get that right back in because they think they're LCS level, and then they get to realize that holy shit, there's a lot of other people that are all around the same skill level as I am. So Alex Ich, yeah, you know, he's a great addition to LCS. He's a good player. He's a legend. He probably deserves it. But there's 8 other mid laners, 10 mid laners in Europe that also deserve it right now. So it's hard to fit him in.
So it's okay. So it's okay if I say that.
Yeah, sure.
Ocelot is just a. Okay, if I say that, because I know a lot of people from Europe hate him since I don't know him. I don't know.
I can explain it. Okay, Ocelot used to be a really big asshole, especially in season 2 and maybe a little bit of season 3. But he's actually a lot nicer now and a lot friendlier. So, yeah. But the thing is, the community doesn't see that. They just see the old Ocelot or what they've seen on video. They don't see that Ocelot is actually very improved. He was actually playing really good as well. You know, in scrims against us, he was doing very good. But people were still trash talking him just because it's Ocelot. But I really think he improved in being a better person and being a lot friendly. He might still have some ways to go, but he's heading in the right direction. No, I after what just happened, I don't think he'll be professional again. I think he will become a coach or manager and just take it from there. You know. Even as someone who doesn't particularly like him because of what happened in SK, I kind of have to feel sorry that he gets so much hate and that no matter what he does, it can't go right according to the community. He just gets hate for everything he does. And if you ask me, you know, Gamers 2, it was a complete flop, but he had his stuff together. You know, he had a great gaming house. Even LCS teams were jealous of the gaming house, and the computers, the setup was great. They had the parents there, cooking and cleaning. You know, he had his stuff together, and that takes some kind of special skill, even if it's not as a player. But his career is over now, and I think career as a player, I think he's had it. I think he's had it with playing League.
Okay, so now about expecting why everyone in the world loves him.
It's just who he is. He looks really friendly and cuddly. No homo. But you know, a lot of people know how to fake a certain personality in front of a camera, but Xpeka is actually who you see. He's actually really friendly when the cameras are off as well, and he's always having fun with people and being a very chill person.
House. The gaming house when you guys.
That's when we celebrate by going to McDonald's. That's our form of party. It's going to the McDonald's because it was usually far away. But yeah, then we're really happy, and it changed the mood so much in the team when things are going right from when they're going wrong. So yeah, we'd definitely be really happy and just talking and watching the games immediately when we get home. Put it on the computer, rewatch the games, look at what the commentators were saying about us, look at what Reddit is saying, and everyone happy, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Before you were in Copenhagen Wolves, you played for a lot of teams, a ton of teams. Why have you been in Copenhagen Wolves for so long? Because it's really good to be in a team for 2 years now. You've been with them, right? And to be in a team for that long, I think it's good for esports to have a legacy.
Okay, well, there's a lot of factors. I used to be very new to the scene when I was moving around a lot of teams. And also the scene back then was there were roster swaps almost every week. Every team was swapping all the time. Someone failed a tournament, one or two players go out, and then Copenhagen Wolves came, and I made the lineup from scratch. I made the lineup first, and made it with the people I wanted to play with and I could get results with, and then I went to Copenhagen Wolves. So, and Copenhagen Wolves gave me power to choose, to keep choosing who to play with, for the most part. I got to choose the manager. I get to choose. Well, I was part of choosing the coach, the analyst, and right now everything is a team decision. But back then, I was able to decide who I wanted to be with, and Unlimited was my very first player that I asked to join me, and he's still here, and that's my most important guy. And we still have the manager, and Unlimited, yeah. So having that trust back then, I had the experience in the pro scene, and now I could use it to form that team and form the people around me. And eventually, the team reacted very positively to the manager that I chose, and getting the coach, and now we slowly just went to a situation where we choose everything as a team. But having everything done as a team is very important and really keeps a healthy environment. It's not just like I'm gonna wake up one morning and say, hey, you're out, see you later. It's everything that has happened to Copenhagen Wolves in the last year was a team decision. Everything that happened before that was mostly my decision. Probably still, I would always consult the team, but yeah, that's a really big reason. Thank you to the Latin American fans, especially the Mexican ones. And keep rooting for us, and I'm very sorry for beating you at the World Cup last year, but I'll try not to make it happen again. Keep rooting for us.